Hi everyone, my name is Junon. I have a health science background and I'm the author of the book Truth and Empathy, How to Find Your Soulmate. And I'll put a link to the book below. This video is a romantic compatibility analysis of INFJs and ENTPs. Most people have heard that different personality types are more or less compatible with each other depending on their strengths, their weaknesses, and basically how their brains are wired. So if we look at the areas where the INFJs and the ENTPs would overlap or get along well, is that first of all, they're both intuitive. So intuitives are interested in abstract thought and has to do with the future. So these are people who like to explore different ideas. They like to talk. They like to explore, or not like actually going and test it, but to know that they can actually just imagine what could happen. Especially if you look at the NTP, its first function is extroverted intuition, which has to do with basically associating different ideas. So they are about expanding. I know that when it comes to the INFJ, they are actually the opposite. They have introverted intuition as its first function, but I think that they can still sort of like understand each other on that level. The INFJ is more interested in actually getting to the answer to a question, whereas the ENTP is interested in exploring more. The other areas where they actually would overlap is that the ENTP is an extrovert and the INFJ is the most extroverted of the intuitive feelers, which is most people might find kind of odd, but the INFJ, when people actually meet the person, that is that they are quite expressive. So the ENTP compared to the INTP will come across as more outgoing, more sociable, so they will feel that okay, there is a sort of connection that way. They may be able to understand each other that way. The other point is that because they're intuitives, their brainwaves are slower. So the INFJ has a theta brain dominance, whereas the ENTP has an alpha brain dominance. So it means that they both have pretty good energy, but being intuitives means that they won't come across of people like themselves. So they will be able to understand the fact that they are not as common, so they feel probably kind of alienated from other people. So that would be a point where they might be able to get along. The ENTP is the type of person who likes to explore in terms of math and science, so he is probably also probably an atheist. So the INFJ, being the most logical of all the intuitive feelers, will be able to understand the ENTP's interest in more the math and science compared to, let's say, the humanities. So they're able to share ideas that way, and the ENTP will feel understood by the INFJ, and the INFJ will feel that the ENTP can actually help him or her understand more this area and grow that way because they're such a so curious. The areas where they might have issues has to do with the fact that one is a feminine energy, while the INFJ, and the NTP is a masculine energy. And when you look at relationships, is that the feminine is usually the one who is more in touch with the emotional context of any situation. So an area where they might have issues is that the INFJ has a feminine and orderly relationship style, which means that the goal of the relationship is to bond and to connect. So these are people who want to talk on a regular basis with their romantic partner. They want to be physically affectionate. They want to explore all this sort of emotional, spiritual aspect, and the INTP will probably won't be able to fulfill that need. The other point is that being an ENTP most likely also will be an atheist, and the INFJ, who, as I probably most people know, the INFJs include people like Jesus Christ, Buddha, Mother Teresa. I mean, these are people who are very much into spirituality, and they are theists. So that might be an area where they're going to have issues. The ENTP is about reason. So obviously, rationality. You cannot prove the existence of God. A person has to believe in something, although the ENTP doesn't believe in God, but for them, science is their God. And that might be an issue where the INFJ ENTP will not be able to see eye to eye. The other point is that the ENTP likes to debate for fun. For them, it's a hobby, whereas for the INFJ, unless there's something really important, something that's close to their morals and values that will have an impact on others, they're not willing to just engage in debating just for the fun of it. So that might be an area where they won't get along. To summarize, there are some areas where the INFJ and the ENTP will overlap. First of all, they are intuitive, so they're interested in abstract thought and the future. They like to explore different ideas. They're very curious. The INFJ will be able to understand math and science because the ENTP is very much interested in those fields, because the ENTP obviously has introvert thinking at its second function and the INFJ has introvert thinking at its third function. The INFJ, although is an introvert, comes across as the most expressive of all the NFs, so the ENTP will feel that, okay, well, this person is like expressive, and because ENTP is also an extrovert compared to the INTP, so they will be able to get along on that level. These are people also who will understand the fact that there are just a small percent of people who are intuitives compared to sensors, so they will be able to bond, feeling that, okay, this person also is struggling to find others like themselves. But there are some other areas where the fact that the INFJ is a feminine energy versus the ENTP is a masculine energy, so it means that the INFJ, who needs more bonding, needs more physical affection and so forth, then the ENTP may not get along well. That was the moment to fulfill that. The ENTP also is very much believes in math and science, so it's God, whereas the INFJ doesn't view that way, because obviously INFJs are the most spiritual actually of all the 16 personality types, so that alone will be difficult, and they don't have the same also organizational style. The INFJ is a judger versus the ENTP is a perceiver, so has a spontaneous way of organizing their lives. So for all these reasons, I would say that the INFJ ENTP sort of compatibility romantically would not be really good. I mean, they could be friends, or they could be like let's say co-workers. They could work on projects together, but in the long run, probably the INFJ will not be fulfilled, and the ENTP may not understand why it's not working out. So let me know if you agree or disagree with this romantic compatibility analysis between the INFJs and the ENTPs by commenting below. If you enjoyed this video, if you learned something, please click on the like button, subscribe to my channel, and we will talk soon.